Nobody can badmouth James because he's going to hear what you say.
That doesn't make a difference.
He deserves that for not being on here.
Well, if we hear another beep, you'll know that's him. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us today. I'll just do a quick introduction, and then Rob, I'll dive into the agenda with you, make sure that that's what you want out of this hour today. My name is Sharon Shaw, and I'm the president of a company called Integrator Support. And what we've set out to do is create a managed services dealer program that helps security systems integrators like yourselves get into more of that solution or selling of services type sales process. So it's different than selling, large systems and, kind of doing that project to project type of customer management. We're working towards more of a fluid, recurring revenue, ongoing service program that keeps you guys tied into your customer base all the time. And one of the things when I started looking into this opportunity for myself in my own career was, everybody's talking about RMR and how important it is, and managed services and how that's where it's headed and all of that. But the key that I wanted to really make sure was that RMR is great, but unless the service itself brings value to your customer and the end user gets what they're looking for from the solution, RMR doesn't matter. Where the rubber meets the road is that the services that we offer provide value and can help make their facilities or their property more safe and secure. So that is ultimately what these services do for us in a way that can be, in a lot of cases, less expensive and more effective than some of the traditional means of security. So what I was going to do, Rob, if that's okay, is go into a little bit of sales type training and how to sell services, and then dive into the dealer program that's specific to ATI and our rollout strategy and going through sort of next steps after that. Is that what you're looking for? Is there anything else you'd like to touch on before I dive into that?
No, that's great.
All right. Let's get started.
I've already told everybody about who you are and what we're here today to learn about.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Rob. And I'll try to keep it to our hour mark here. But, why are we here? A lot of times I get started with a training and I forget to address, some of the questions that people might be having. And the reason why I put this particular presentation together was because the challenges that integrators have been facing in the past with selling services are, understanding the process of consultative selling, understanding how important it is to make the service the solution in that proposal, and the do's and don'ts when you're putting that proposal together, how to make it, a higher probability of closing, the keys to calculating your customer's return on investment, and making sure we can all articulate to your customer their true cost of doing nothing. And I think, as we go through, you'll understand more about what these points mean. But to start off with the steps of consultative selling, the number one thing that I try to encourage you guys to do is to put yourself in your customer's shoes. If you guys hired a consultant, for instance, Carol, okay, you hire Carol, and you're looking to her to help you with your web presence. You're looking to her to help you with your overall market strategy, your overall sales, management. And if she doesn't understand your business, if she didn't ask you the right questions, then you're going to think that she doesn't know how to advise you. So one of the key things is to understand the customer and their needs. So you want them to understand you, and then you expect them to know more than you. You expect Carol to have ideas that you didn't think of, to have answers to the questions that you've been wondering in the back of your mind. And honestly, in a lot of cases, hiring a consultant, one of the most important things is just a fresh perspective and coming in with a clean slate, no baggage, and being able to look at things very objectively and say, this works, this doesn't work, and give you some good strategic advice. Another thing is you expect that person to be honest. You want her to tell you really what's going on, because if she gives you some advice just because it's her spiel, it doesn't necessarily have a good impact on your company. And In order to really get that buy-in, it's important that she demonstrates concern for your company and your goals and your people. And then lastly is to stay connected. I previously worked for a company called PSA, and they hired a consultant who specializes in their type of business, which is a cooperative. And this guy came in, did a presentation to the board, talked about, buying power and the value of a co-op and all this kind of stuff and the culture of a co-op. And, it lasted for about 30 or 60 days. Everybody was really excited and pumped up about it. But then, after a while, it kind of faded away. And one of the keys was that he stayed engaged. As soon as that slip started to be identified, he got back involved, started up some new programs, got some more communication processes in place, and staying connected. So just like Carol's on this call today, it's really important that that consultant continues to be on your team and showing you that as you implement their ideas, that they're there to support you every step of the way. So now thinking about, is that James? No? Okay. Now thinking about the steps to consultative selling as you being the consultant to your customers. So again, to understand their questions, you need to listen, and you need to ask questions. You need to ask probing questions. And we have a list of questions that I'll show you when you're gearing up to sell managed services, what exactly you need to ask them in order to get the right information about their business. To have the answers, ideas, and a fresh perspective, you need to portray confidence, and you need to be passionate about what you're talking about. You need to know that, surveillance systems, they're great. They record things, they give you some information when you need it after something's happened, but to really solve that issue, it's more effective to have it monitored so that proactively people are looking in and seeing what's going on at that facility. Be thorough and double check your facts. So that honesty thing when you're talking about what we do is things like making sure that that integration is in place before you promise that we can work with what they have. Just double check your facts and make sure that if you don't have the answer, just tell them that. Just say, hey, I don't have the answer to that question today, but I will get it for you and I'll be back in touch. There's no shame in just saying I need some time. And then make sure you look for cues when you're talking to them. So read their body language. Because this is a new solution, when you present it to them, it might catch them a little bit off guard. They might think about it as, well, I don't need hosted. I have an IT closet. I can manage my own access control system. You don't need to do that for me. Or there might be other things. Maybe they're apprehensive in general about the network and putting video out in the cloud or having people access their facility through port forwarding. That might be their concern. So if they start to get agitated, if they start to kind of get impatient, or you see that something isn't adding up, ask them. Say, hey, when I brought this up, you seem to shy away from the idea. Is there something going on? Is there something that we should be talking about, or any questions that you have? And then, again, to stay connected, that ongoing communication. And that's one of the things that we'll also be helping you with is a continuous MARCOM program, where we're continuing to get messages pumped out to your existing customer base, and it just keeps you guys in front of them. And that's sort of the art of selling managed services, is because it creates a sticky relationship between you and your customer base. And that recurring revenue, every time you send them an invoice, they're thinking of ATI. They're constantly thinking of you guys. So that's your way of doing that. Now, the importance of solution-based sales. This is actually a really good example, an unfortunate one, but a good example. Had a scenario the other day where one of our dealers had a prospective client looking to add some video systems to their facility. They build explosives at this manufacturing plant, and so they wanted to make sure that they have some perimeter protection and some video in place so they can monitor for what's going on. They have a little guard shack with a guy who every night they pay this guy just to go out and walk the perimeter of the fence line, just to go look and see if the fence is still intact. That's a lot of money right there that they're spending on that one guy to go around and walk the fence. And the challenge was when they started doing the presentation, they brought in the manufacturer. And the manufacturer of the camera, so it's VideoIQ, no secrets here. VideoIQ rep comes in and starts demoing the product. And, you know, I think that Jerry may have touched on this when you guys went to G4S, but VideoIQ portrays the product as it's so easy. You know, everything comes with it. You know, all you need to do is this, this, and this. And when they, you know, started to see that, they started thinking, oh, okay, this, you know, this is the tool we need. You know, this is exactly what we need. And then the talk about monitoring was, it sounded like an add-on, you know, to them. When they went in and said, and well, by the way, though, we can actually monitor these cameras. So that way you guys don't have to, or you can reallocate that guy walking the fence line and have him go do something else. Or, you know, you can save the money and, you know, replace him with a remote guarding solution. And, you know, the unfortunate thing was that because they saw the option between just the technology and the service, they, you know, were just kind of stuck on all we need is the technology. That's what we're used to. We're just comfortable with that. And so the key is when you guys start selling services, that the service has to be the solution. That is the forefront of your conversation. You say, hey, you know, what we do is we offer a remote guarding solution. Well, what is that? Well, what we do is we use these cameras to monitor your facility. The cameras are just a means of delivering that service. They're not the actual solution. And so the key there is that if you guys put yourself in a situation where you're trying to do it as an add-on, the customers pick up on that pretty quickly. You know, we're all trained to say no to the warranties at Best Buy. We all know that. You know, there's certain things that you just know you don't need. And that becomes one of those things. So it's important that you guys look at it as this is their solution. Also, when you're doing your solution building, when you're taking the information that they just gave you through that question and answer process, that consultative selling process, these are the steps. You need to identify their problems. What are your concerns? How do we solve those problems? So take the list of services that you guys have access to and figure out which of them is going to solve those problems. Understand and believe in the advantages of services. I mean, that is so important. If you guys are at all questioning whether or not managed services is the right path or whether or not that's the answer for your customer, they're going to know that. If you don't believe it, they're going to know that, and they won't believe it either. So the most important thing is that you guys truly, you know, believe and are passionate about services being the answers to their problems. And demonstrating partnership, you know, just kind of like what you're going to see from me. You know, we're developing the marketing materials. We're developing, you know, your sales tools. We put together a price book that Rob, you know, cleaned up for you guys. You know, we are here for you guys. We're not charging for any of those resources. Our whole goal is to be a partner. So when you're positioning yourself as a service provider to your customer, you need to be able to kind of do the same thing. You need to be able to say, yeah, well, anytime you have an alarm, that's our alarm. Anytime somebody breaches your perimeter, that's like they breached our perimeter. We are just as into this as you are. This is just as important to us as it is to you. And we're going to be there every step of the way. And if you look at the two pictures I have at the bottom of this slide, you'll see that there's a kind of clustered road there on the left, or a highway. And if you think about it really plain and simple, that what we're providing to your customers through services is a highway. They don't need to be bothered by every tiny little thing that's happening in their security program. They need to be able to focus on their business. They need to be able to focus their resources on generating their own revenue or doing whatever else they need to get done. And then you guys take that off of their plate, off their shoulders. And every so often, they'll see the signage. They'll be driving 55 miles an hour and they'll see the signage. They'll know what's going on. You'll get them reports. You'll keep them informed. But it's only when they need it. And so that's really what we're trying to do here, is just simplify their security program. When you guys start developing your proposals and your presentations, don't be caught off guard. So when you guys go and you do your consultative, your site walk or site survey or whatever you call that, and you're doing the questionnaire and you're getting the answers to their questions, let them know what you guys do. Say, well, ATI, we no longer believe in just, installing something and walking away from it, because we don't think that's the right solution for you. What we do is we add value by providing you a service. We monitor your system. We manage your system. We maintain your system. So that system is, in essence, our system, and we are responsible for it. And if they expect that you're going to come back with a service-based quote, then when you present them with that recurring fee, they won't be caught off guard. Manage that expectation from the front end and let them know this is the way we do things. Don't present the service as an add-on. Again, lead with the service. And there's, in addition to the sales aspect of this, there's also a technical aspect of this. The other day I was talking to one of our dealers in New York, and he was quoting a car dealership. And he said, okay, so I guess, Sharon, what I'll do is go design the system, and I'll get back with you with the types of cameras and stuff we're going to be using. And I said, no, it doesn't work that way. Because if you go design that system with standard IP cameras outside in this car lot, and then decide, oh, I'd like to have it monitored, you didn't buy analytics. You didn't give us the tools we need to do our job. So now we're going to either have to go back and change the proposal out and add different cameras, which is always sloppy, and that makes it messy, and then they think this is unnecessary, I don't want to work with them, this isn't what I want. So the key is that when you lead with the service, the design of that system, everything follows behind it, okay? So that way you're not having to go back and pedal backwards and figure out what works with each other and what doesn't work. We're here for you. Between Jerry's team, me, and our manufacturer partners, we'll be there for you to help you as you're using some of those new products. But the key is always lead with the service. Never, ever present it as an option. And so in that example, sorry.
I'm just going to jump into that. And this is, guys, this is why we're trying to say separate yourself from the competition. Every single competitor can sell a Video IQ camera. Every competitor can sell XactVision with Video IQ on it. The real differentiating part of this whole solution, these managed services, is the service. It's exactly, it's a good point that you're making there, Sharon.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's a great element too. And going back to that explosives, manufacturer example, the way we should have done it is, instead of having the manufacturer come in and show how great and easy the product is to use and deploy, it should be that that camera comes with a service. Bottom line, that's it. If you want the camera, you get the service, and that's it. Because in that way they start thinking, well, I wonder what's up with that, and it's hard. It's hard to lead. Okay, when you go against the grain, when you're the one introducing something new, it's not easy. I know that. But the challenge is that if you don't fall into it completely, if you don't take that step of faith, if you don't live and breathe what you're trying to do here, then your customers aren't going to buy into it. So the most important thing for you guys is to go in and say, this is a service. ATI is a service company, and that's what we do. We don't, that the old way, it only works in like airports. It works in some very large-scale, facilities where they have a lot of their own manpower to handle everything. But in most cases, this is the best solution. The other thing is to keep it simple when you're doing your proposal and present just one option. Rob is investigating a project financing program that we have available. So what you guys can do is you can get all of the equipment, all of your labor, and put it into like a lease or a finance program. And then basically all you do is you quote your customer for everything, just a monthly payment. So it's not an upfront plus a monthly for the service. Everything is a monthly payment, which means, for them it frees up cash. It allows them to use that cash for other stuff for their own business. And one of the most important things about project financing that I don't think people are grasping as they should is the idea of life cycle management. Just like in IT, every year we replace 20% or 30% of our laptops. And then the next year we do the next round, and then the next year the next round, so that everybody's got fresh equipment that they're working with. And you don't end up 5 years from now where you have to replace everything. So it's now that gives us the opportunity to do that in security, where your customers can know what their security is going to cost them this year, next year, the year after that, the year after that, and they can continue to add things to it. If they get, say, for example, a 36-month lease, and then 30 months in they decide, I'd really like to have some more cameras or a couple more doors added to our system, they can keep that exact same monthly payment and just extend the term. So what that does is it gets them used to writing that same check. They know exactly what they're getting, and you can continue to go in and add services, and you guys get paid upon invoicing. It's really, really easy for you guys. It's better for you because you probably will collect faster from the bank than you would from your customers directly. Not to mention the fact that when you're selling a service, it's a lot easier to bundle that payment in together than it is to do it as an add-on feature in that proposal on top of that upfront capital investment. So when you guys start looking at calculating return on investment and measuring the benefits for your customer, these are just some of the comparisons that you can think about. If you're looking at hosted systems, and this is another thing that kind of drives me crazy, is our industry's, I don't think, done a very good job segregating the difference between hosted services and managed services. I think, we kind of swiped the term managed services from the IT community. And, basically IT calls that it's hosting, it's server hosting, and then they maintain that server for you. But in our business, I look at managed services where there's a human being that's doing something for you. So hosted would be hosted access control. Hosted would be hosted video, where there's simply an appliance in a server room or a data center somewhere that's operating somewhere else. Managed would be when G4S monitors that camera, or when you guys go in and make the administrative changes for your customer's access control database. So in case you guys are wondering what my terminology is, that's how I define the two. But basically, the on-site model you guys are familiar with, but if they wanted to have the same level of flexibility in terms of accessing their access control database, they'd have to put in some sort of a web server, or Citrix server, VPN, or something to access that server where that's sitting. They have to purchase up front the server itself and the software licenses. They have to continue to provide the power and the real estate to keep that server running. And upgrades can, in a lot of cases, be painful. And not to mention that, in a lot of cases, the labor is sort of a hidden cost of those upgrades. Now, if you guys offer them a maintenance contract, it doesn't really convey that to the customer, but it can cost your company a lot more money doing those upgrades if there's an issue with that. Now, if you go to the hosted model, they don't need to buy a server. They don't need to buy the licenses. They don't need to allocate the overhead to managing that system. They don't need to have the annual support agreements. They have that constant, because it's hosted, everything's constantly supported. All the upgrades are done automatically one time. They don't need to do anything with it. There's nothing that's going to break on site. So it makes their world a lot more convenient as well in terms of accessing that database and being able to make their changes or pull reports or do whatever it is that they need to do with it. Then when you get into managed, you have sort of the benefits of it being more affordable. Comparing the typical guard costs in the U.S., it's around $175,000 a year for one guard, 3 shifts, 24/7, 365. Okay, so to have that one guard there all the time, it can cost them, almost $200,000. And so if you replace one, just say the night shift, we replace with remote monitoring. you can save them a significant amount of money while making good margins for your company and providing your customers, honestly, with a more effective solution. In a lot of cases, guards, can be somewhat ineffective. There's studies that show that after, I think it's 15 minutes, 80% of the activity you're supposed to look for in a matrix of monitors you can't remember. After 20 minutes, it's 90%. So they're only catching 10% of the activity that they're supposed to be looking for when they're staring at all those monitors. And so how effective is that? Not to mention human nature, where when you're doing that all night long, you get tired, people fall asleep, people get sick, people get tired. Or if there's somebody really aggressive coming onto the scene to do some damage, they can get intimidated. They can get hurt. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen when you're relying on a human there on the site. Whereas when you're using Jerry's team at G4S to do your monitoring for you, they are safe in that remote facility. So they're not going to get intimidated. They are quick because they can, with a click of a mouse, look and see what's going on elsewhere throughout the facility. They can, they're well trained. They can do the right things when they're using the dispatch with the facility or with the authorities, making sure they communicate all the right messages, making sure that they're giving them all the right information. So in a lot of cases, being remote can be more effective. And if you compare it to nothing, if you compare it to a DVR and a few cameras that are just sitting there recording whatever's going on, that's just forensic. That's not helping prevent anything from happening. What we're really getting at is a proactive security solution where, it's not recording the people tagging the building, spray painting the building. That's not what you want. You want them to stop doing it. That's what you want. And so that's what we're able to do, is intervene in real time. And I think you guys got a good handle on that when you went out and saw Jerry's team. So here's an example of asking probing questions to really get at what are the needs of this customer, and how can I then translate those needs into, we have a solution for you. I was on an airplane, actually, and I sat next to a gentleman, and he manages a branch that rents and sells, I think, as well, machinery, different construction machinery and tractors and things like that. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, do you guys have any issues with people breaking in and stealing your inventory when you guys aren't around? He said, well, not my branch, but the guy 20 miles away from me has had a lot of issues. I said, so how are you handling it? Well, we put a GPS tracking unit on all of our device, or all of our machines. So if something's missing, we can go find it. I said, okay. And in that process, I mean, how many losses have you incurred? By what led you to do that? And he shared with me how expensive those machines are and all of that. And I said, so what about the property damage? I mean, even if you go get them back, are they damaged? In some cases this has happened, or, more than anything, they break our gate or they cut through the fence, and we've got to repair all of that. I said, so how much time, do you think you guys are spending? It's great that you can find them again, but, how much time are you spending going out and recovering your assets and reporting to the insurance company, reporting to the authorities, getting all that information together, trying to file a complaint? How much time are you spending on all this stuff? Oh gosh, it's a bear, Sharon. I had to pick up the slack for the guy down the road when he was dealing with all that, and I know he was really stressed. Okay? So when you're doing that, what should you have been doing at your branch, that you're now delegating and things? He's like, yeah, balls getting dropped. So he's just, venting all of this frustration and pain towards me once I just uncovered some of the issues. And then you get into the fact that, well, what we can do is, as somebody approaches your facility or as somebody, breaches that perimeter, we can do a voice down announcement and we can scare them off, or we can have people there immediately, within minutes to come in and try to apprehend them, before they have a chance to load that tractor on that flatbed trailer. So those are just an example of how do you quantify their true cost of doing nothing. How do you continue to ask the questions on that true impact it has on their business? all that time he spent dealing with, authorities and recovering a tractor, they could have been marketing their company to potential renters or purchasers. Not to mention what happens if a customer wants to rent that tractor that's been taken, and now they have an opportunity cost because they were not able to rent or sell that tractor. Another example is a property management company. One thing that I learned sort of the hard way when I was doing some clerical work in just an office building, and the company I was working for had, on Friday afternoon, kind of typical, I guess, they fired their CFO. And so they come and tell me as the front desk gal, it's my job to coordinate with the property management company, and said, hey, Sharon, we need you to call them and make sure that all of their access control credentials are deactivated because they didn't have them all with them today. Okay, sure, no problem. So I call. It's 4:45. I get the guy on his cell phone, and he was so upset. I've been working since 6 a.m., and I'm just about to eat dinner with my family. You want me to turn around and drive all the way back there to, da-da-da-da-da? Why don't you buy your own access control system? I mean, I just got reamed. But I'm just trying to do my job here too, buddy. I don't know what to tell you, So they hate doing it. So they're doing it by driving out to each property and handling their access control or handling whatever needs to be done. If they're a property management company, they're looking for tenants. They're constantly looking for tenants. And so if somebody spray painted the building, or if somebody's, maybe transients are breaking in and staying there at night or on weekends or something like that, it's damaging to their reputation, and it's keeping them from getting new tenants. Not to mention how much damage if someone is tagging the building, having to go repaint it or having to go repair something. And then again, that whole workforce impact. I mean, there's so many problems. And they're in the business of just filling space. All they want to do is fill up space. And so if we can provide them with, like Rob mentioned earlier, a unique offering, a differentiator, a way where their tenants know that they are going to be secure. At that building, it might not have the pretty hardwood floor as the other building, but I would feel really safe leaving there in the middle of the night. Those are the kinds of things that can make a big difference. So it's ultimately getting at them of how can they use their facility managers more effectively to deliver the right services and solutions to their tenants, while at the same time providing a safer environment for those tenants. So now I'm going to go into some of the resources and things that we've developed for you guys and kind of how this program is going to get rolled out. And I know that my resolution is a little different, so I'm going to maximize this. It might be a little too big now, but it's better this way. This is what we call our sales manual. And I know Rob and Carol have taken a look at this. But the idea is that this is a booklet where you guys can take every time you go talk to a customer or prospect. You write in their name. You have a little booklet, and it just has all the information about them that pertains to these services in one place. And it guides you through the process. So this is just sort of the cover page. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. Can you guys read that okay? Okay. So this is just what you'll have on the top, and you'll have who's the customer, their contact information when you started talking to them, and then my name. So I'll put, Sharon Shaw here. And then this is when you start qualifying them a little bit, understanding what their goals are. What's their time frame of getting this stuff done? Do they have a budget for security? Who are some of the key decision makers? Who makes the financial decisions? If you guys are going in with the financing, that's really important to understand. What is their goal and their relationship with ATI? And what maybe is their competition? Do you happen to know whether or not you're going up against, who is it up there, Rob? You said you're up against Lot Protection 1. who is there any information
all
you can
times.
share? Yeah. So who are you up against, just so you can kind of track that information, and any special notes, that you'd like to incorporate. And then this is your process of doing the consultative selling. So we talked about a lot of this kind of in general with strategy earlier, but interviewing your customer, conducting your site survey, summarizing their needs and wants, creating the proposals. Now, in this case, what we recommend is you go in with one proposal, which is the best, but put in your back pocket some of the other options where if you go in and you lead with remote guarding, hosted access, and hosted video, and then they say, I only want, I don't need all of that, or they balk at the budget, then go back and quote them maybe just a couple of those things. But don't lead with multiple options, only lead with one. Calculate their financing payment, calculate their return on investment, present the solution to them, and provide them a subscriber agreement to start reviewing. Because we've had a lot of cases where people approve the budget, they approve the idea, the concept, but then when they get into looking at the T's and C's of the contract, there's issues. So make sure that you get that paperwork in front of them at the same time when you give them the quote, just to start getting that process moving. This is the 5 W's. And so the key here is getting the information again, showing that you're a partner, showing that you're listening, showing that you care about what matters to them. So that way when you make a recommendation, they know you understand what their concerns are. So who do they consider a threat? Are we monitoring for people? Are we monitoring for employees and intruders? Or who is it that we're monitoring for? What is it that they want us to prevent? When is it that their property is most at risk? Where in the facility are they most vulnerable? Maybe there's just one little area that, for in the example of a car dealership, we have a car dealership we monitor where there's a sales lot and then there's a maintenance lot. And their concerns were primarily in the maintenance lot because those are customer-owned vehicles. They don't own those vehicles anymore. So if somebody comes in and tries to rip off their customer's Maserati, that's a big liability issue for them. So they want to make sure that that area is fully protected and secure. So it might be understanding a little bit more about where it is that they're most concerned about or where the activity's been happening most frequently. And then asking them why. The why and the how are going to help you with your calculation of their return on investment. Why is this so important to you? Well, because if my customers can go down the street and have somebody else maintain their car and they keep it in a garage instead of in a parking lot like I have, they're going to feel safer with that. So I need to show them, that I have just as secure a property as anybody else. How does this activity impact your business? When that facility manager is running all around adding and deleting users for access control systems, what else could he be doing? What else, could he be doing to make that property better for their end users or their tenants? And then, lastly, and probably most importantly, is how much is that costing you? If they've been ripped off, if they've had people come in and vandalize their building, quantify how much they've spent on that. How much is that costing you every time it happens, and how frequently is it happening? Because then you can really go in and show them a break-even point in their investment. When you're doing your site walk, I don't know if Jerry touched on this or not, but it's important to look at, if they have existing systems, what types of systems are there so we can determine our level of compatibility. In a lot of cases, if they have analog cameras plugged into a network DVR, we can plug into that DVR as long as it's not like an offshore brand. But it's important to make sure that what are the firmware versions, just double checking some of those things. So if there's something that needs to be done to bring it to being compatible, we know that up front. Similarly, if you guys are looking at, let me rephrase that. I just want you guys to know, we'll get into the marketing in just a minute, but going to your existing customer base where legacy systems are already in place, that is going to be some of our lowest hanging fruit. So a lot of the marketing that we've put together is designed to bring all of those people you guys have installed systems for in the last few years the opportunity to upgrade to a managed services solution. So you're not having to go out and find a whole bunch of new customers, in order to offer these programs. So taking note of the cameras, if there's any kind of storage, whether it's a DVR or if it's a server running Milestone or whatever it might be, figure out what's going on with their storage. What is the lighting like? If we're monitoring outdoors, make sure that we know what level of light is available. If there's access control, again, just make sure you get all of the information on that. And the last question is really important when you're estimating their event package for remote video monitoring is whether or not their perimeter is protected or if they have a controlled environment. And what I mean by that is you can have the same size system in terms of the cameras and whatever else you're using to measure the size of that system, maybe doors. But if one has a fenced-in perimeter and another one is an outdoor mall, you're going to obviously have different levels of activity because one is public. People are typically walking around. Maybe they're on a date in the middle of the night and they're walking and looking at stars or something. Who knows? That would be typical of an outdoor mall. But if you have an area that's storing roofing supplies behind a chain link fence, you're not going to have the random traffic. So when you guys are estimating the number of events that you want to put in there for your proposal, it's important to know whether or not that environment is controlled or not. And we'll be here for you guys every step of the way. We're giving you some of these tools and resources, but we are available to help you whenever you need some assistance to make sure that you feel comfortable with what you're presenting. A needs assessment. This tool is basically designed to, if you guys go down this list and you start talking to your customer about what would your ideal solution be? Mr. Customer, what is it that you would like to have out of your security system? If you could do anything with it, what would you want to do? Well, I'd really like to access the video from my lobby on my iPhone. I'd really like to be able to do that because then I could see, at any given point, what my staff is up to or what's going on. Okay, so that would maybe be an option for hosted video. Or if they want to be able to link video clips with access control transactions every time somebody swipes a card or something like that, that might be the hosted access angle. So those are the types of questions. These are the feature sets. And basically what will happen is as you guys start circling, which of these they want, then we can go back and build the solution based on which of these services deliver those feature sets. And then these are just a couple of brochures that we've created for you guys. And mainly because these are, I think, are our two, I guess you could say, most frequent or where we're getting the most traction. These are the most common markets, are protecting outdoor assets. So it's more of an application. It's not like a vertical. But car dealerships, solar farms, building materials, tractor supplies, things like that. This is a program or a brochure that talks specifically about these types of facilities and how to leverage these feature sets to make it more secure. And then these are, this one is primarily on property management. So this talks about how all of these things can influence the property management. And then these are the benefits of hosted access and sort of showing that evolution towards a hosted and a managed solution. Oh, shoot, and Rob, I forgot to swap out your line drawing. I still need to do that. Sorry, that's going to be an AMAG line drawing.
That's all right. We'll fix it up.
And then this is your hosted video. So similarly, hosted and managed video, going from it being forensic and hard to access and hard to manage to being hosted and highly accessible to being not only, is it hosted, but it's also managed, meaning somebody else is going in and monitoring it, checking the quality of the video on a daily basis, things like that. So that's your sales manual. This is just the steps. Now, as you guys read through this, I'm sure Rob will forward it to you. Just if you need something else, if you think, this doesn't make sense to me, or we're forgetting this, let me know. I am an extension of your team. So Rob, Carol, and I will all brainstorm together to figure out what the right flavor is for ATI to make sure that this is successful. Because, again, I'm not successful until you guys successfully start selling these services. So please, don't be shy about any concerns, questions, anything that you have.
It's a great thing. You guys are the ones who are in the field every day. I've heard a couple of you say before that you need some other strategic marketing materials. Let us know what those are so we can start putting them together. On top of what Sharon's just shown you there, we're also internally building some brochures and doing some other campaigns too. So
great.
I'll be able to share with you guys.
And then this is, basically, I feel that marketing and sales, are so intertwined. It's really important, that these things are all working together. So what we have available to you, Rob, and we've added to this list, are not just email campaigns, which I have a couple examples I'll show you, but taking that same message that's in the email and sending it as a letter or a postcard. So if they don't get the email, if the email goes to spam or they don't read it, they get a letter or they get a postcard. They get something in front of them. Similarly, we've had some success with voicemail drops, where if you have a list of phone numbers, you can go in and record a script. We'll provide the scripts, give you the phone number. You just go in, you say, hi, this is Rob with Advanced Technology. I'm here to talk to you, or I just wanted to call and let you know that we're working on this, this, and this. And, just giving them a heads up on what's going on. And it's basically the same message that we'd want. Each week we want a consistent message going out to the end users. But that way they get a phone call, they get a letter, they get an email. And so however they like to receive their information, they'll receive it. I've already given some materials to Carol, who's putting some of the text and images and things like that onto your new website. So that way, if they go to the website, they can find information about these services. And lastly, and probably most importantly in terms of lead generation, is a white-labeled webinar program where I'll present on behalf of Advanced Technology, a webinar about why your security is safe in the cloud, or how to use video surveillance to be proactive. And if somebody takes 30 minutes out of their day to attend one of those, that they're pretty interested or they're looking for something like that. And we'll give you a list of who attended, and all of their contact information is captured. So that way it gives you, each time we do that, which should be monthly, a list of people to call and follow up on. And then we'll record it and provide you guys that recording so you can host it on your website and have it available as an archive as well. And basically, this is just sort of a 90-day schedule of the different programs that we have available. So each week, this is the message that everybody gets. And kind of lastly is the, adjust this a little bit, is the implementation program. So, I've been working really closely with Rob and Carol, but now it's time, as you guys start getting your feet moving into this, getting your feet wet, we want to make sure that we're here, we're constantly in communication. So, some of the things that we'll want to do is schedule a weekly sales call. Make sure that, we are, out there talking about this. If you encounter an objection that you don't know how to overcome, if somebody asks you a question that you don't know how to answer, those are the types of things that we need to all share. If somebody has a really great success or a good win, sharing what worked, how did we do that? How do we replicate that over and over again? So the implementation program is designed to keep us in connection, at least for that 90 days, just to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with things, that you have us here as a resource. So I just wanted you all to know, how you can get a hold of me. I'll send you an email. I've got all of your emails now that you've attended the GoTo meeting with my contact information. And then, Rob, I'll send all this extra stuff over to you so you can distribute it as you see fit. and then you and I can, I guess, work out a schedule on how you'd like to move forward with the implementation. But that's what you guys can expect working with us, is you're going to have the best-in-class partners in terms of the monitoring center and the solutions that we offer, and you're going to have integrator support in your corner as you guys roll this out.
That's great. That's perfect. So on Monday, guys, we're going to go do a big training and presentation that, we've developed a new PowerPoint and the iPads and the whole thing. So I'm going to present that to you as a team, and we're actually going to do a mock scenario, with a pretend client, so I can show you some of those fact-finding questions that you need to ask. Show you the presentation on how we present the solutions, and we're going to keep training on all these technologies so everyone's up to speed. But as Sharon said, feel free to reach out to her also. She's a great resource. She's done this with other integrators before, so you've got multiple people here you can rely on to help make you guys successful. Sharon, thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time today, everybody. I know it's valuable, and we're all busy. So thanks for your time and attention, and I'll make sure to send you my contact information. And then, Rob, just let me know how your meeting goes Monday, and we can talk about what to do next after that and get you started on the marketing campaign.
Perfect. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
No, thanks.
No.
Great.
Well, the forms, the interview forms and that sort of thing will be available probably Monday.
Yeah, all I need to do is tweak one of those line drawings there for you, but I'll make sure Rob has that, this week so he can incorporate it into the other presentation he's going to be giving you next week.
Great.
Can we get a copy of this PowerPoint?
Absolutely. And actually, you guys, I recorded this, so in case, James, I think, came late or wasn't able to attend, we have that recording available for you guys as well. But I can send you the slides, no problem.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sharon.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you all soon. Good
All right.
luck.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.